Hello, this is Chess Show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today, as our guests, we have not one but two professors. Ken Regan, welcome to the show, Ken,
Thank you very much for having me on.
and also Professor Dan Fleetwood. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Yeah.
Quite happy to be here.
All right.
Yes, pleasure. And Ken, so tell us what we are going to see this show.
Well, we have a romantic beginning to the show. Can't get more romantic than Casablanca, at least for the movie, but this was people playing chess and playing chess in very much old style. The tournament was held with rapid pace and where the players continued games from move 10 or so of famous chess games. So for the first round, the players were given games, a game that was begun by Mikhail Chigorin and William Steinitz. So you're seeing the screen here?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm using the chess.com version. So playing from this position on move 10 of an Evans Gambit, white has sacrificed a pawn, were first Magnus Carlsen against another world champion, former world champion Viswanathan Anand, and then Hikaru Nakamura playing the North African favorite Amin Bassem of Egypt. Okay, and as you can see, both games ended decisively for white. And with Dan's help, let's try and understand what happened here. Because
I think you're on your own here, Ken.
Oh, okay. The game's picked up at turn 10. So this was the set position to play. And as you see,
I have to say, I've never played an Evans Gambit in a serious game in my life. So this was just fun for me to watch.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have. Well, so on paper, this was a fair position to begin from because the Stockfish 16 evaluation is showing only 0.13 advantage to white. And with white capturing on e5, nominally for temporarily, at least to regain the pawn, because black has to move the queen out of the way from white's rook, and black's queen going to a well-recommended square g6 that the players avoided. So now it turns out both of our white players committed what the computer thinks is a misstep right away, but they both won essentially within 10 moves. So there must be something dynamic about this position that was fatal for black. Okay, so Magnus Carlsen came up with knight a3. And the flaw in this, according to the computer, is that black should capture, which normally maybe you wouldn't do in the Evans Gambit because you're giving up your strongholds in the center, but center schmenter. Let's just relocate the queen to this key square g6. And then the computer is saying, well, I know that the great players of the past had many swashbuckling attacks from a great center at the cost of only one pawn in the past, but I am going to defend like Korchnoi or Korchnoi on steroids and stay with my pawn advantage and have a pawn advantage, and I'll just beat back your attack with little moves like h6. But that's not what black did. Black instead fell for the temptation to get rid of white's magnificent light squared bishop right away, which is a problem in the open lines of the Joka piano as well for white. So black played knight a5, but this is a mistake according to the computer. Because
so Ken, I guess I will opine that when moves like that are bad, then black has failed the opening, and he probably failed the opening somewhere that I'm not familiar with.
Right. Well, it would have been somewhere back in 1892 with Steinitz and Chigorin. And so the meta question is whether, the position is really dynamically winning for white, even though it's equal on paper. So now the problem with black's play is that if you capture on c4, then white gets a tempo by which to regain the pawn. Now the pawn on e5 is really going to disappear. So, and in fact, you can't play queen g6 anymore because your knight is going to hang. So the only thing you can do is play here. And then, well, this sets up some definite awkwardness for black. Okay, it can't capture with the a pawn because the rook will hang. Can't capture with the queen because then the knight would really hang. And if you recapture this way, well, now your position's just wrecked. We're going to take on e5 next, and you know, this is just wrecked up for black. So, so anyway, so after queen a4, now the way that black should minimize the disadvantage is to capture on d4 and then play knight ec6. Get a position like this. And then this is still a playable game. In fact, the computer is, well, Stockfish 11, older Stockfish, has changed its mind and decided this is dead equal. I don't know. Black has a traffic jam on the queen side, which is not where his king is, so I still distrust this for black. But anyway, that is not what Anand did. Anand played the move knight ec6 first. You know, maybe thinking I can try to keep my stronghold on e5 as long as it goes. But now Carlsen starts playing some moves. Okay, take on e5, a mistake according to the computer. And then now Anand responds with an empty threat. The correct move for black is to play the queen to this key square. We'll see it recommended in the other game as well. And then black is doing okay. All right, I mean, it turns out that maybe white does not have the time to recuse or rescue this bishop, because black can play tactically knight takes e5, and then this other bishop is hanging. So black would achieve the aim of exchanging off that bishop. The computer says white's best move is bishop f4, and then black can take on c4, one of the lines. Okay, but that's not what black did. So Anand fell for the temptation to lay a threat against f2, but it's really an empty threat. And this is where Carlsen starts playing incredibly active moves. Watch white's rook. Okay.
Oh,
Watch white's rooks. Okay, so we're going to make you carry out your threat. Now, the problem is, where's your queen coming back into the game? We might be able to trap this queen.
if I'm Anand, I feel like I'm lost.
Yeah. Well, the computer also feels like black is lost.
Well, I can't really see the. Oh my goodness, yes.
so Anand flailed about. Now this
Holy
really
cow!
was only making
This is brutal.
Yes. So, and right here, I don't know what Anand missed. Maybe Anand thought he was going to take on c3 with the queen, but this is where your queen is trapped. The other rook comes into play.
Queen is going to early retirement.
Yep. So Anand decided, well, I might as well get some pieces for it. But now, so we get some pieces. But now, once again, watch white's play. Okay, so queen a4, knight e3, hoping to at least exchange some pieces off. But we are going to start demolishing black's position here. So if you take with the a pawn, I win your rook. If you take with the c pawn, is it just that black's position is totally wrecked? Oh, the knight goes. Yes. So this is going to win 2 pieces for a rook. So black captured here instead. That's the last move of the game. White captured on c6, and Anand decided he's had enough because it's going to be 2 rooks for a queen and a piece. But in fact, black's position is just bad here. Okay, so this is a variation I played. The game actually ended after rook takes c6, and Anand gave up. So you play something like this, black's position hasn't developed and is down material. Okay, so it took only 10 moves for white to win from that Chigorin-Steinitz position. Well, let's look at the other game. Other game from this position was Hikaru Nakamura against Bassem Amin. And Amin, of course, is 200 points lower rated and standard chess. So you would expect white to do well. This is the sequence of moves that leads. The computer does not like Chigorin's queen f6. Doesn't matter. We got to this position, and black should be okay on paper. And interestingly enough, Hikaru plays this milk toasty move, but at least it guards against the threat of knight a5. So now that bishop will be preserved. Now, once again, what the computer says to do is trade on d4 and play queen g6. So the funny thing about the chess.com display is it made it look like Steinitz and Chigarin were still playing that game. And
that was bizarre. It confused me for probably a good 5 minutes before I figured out what they were doing.
yeah.
So I would say Black's queen f6, queen d6, and queen g6 is somewhere between subtle and bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you play when you have an extra pawn and inferior position. Sometimes you may lose a cup of tempest, and if nothing forceful will happen, then you might hold. But it looks very suspicious.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Basser
I'm surprised that there's queen g6 at the end of this particular rainbow. So
yeah. Yeah, because White's going to play bishop to d3. The queen's not
Yep.
exactly secure on g6, but
exactly.
it's reasonably, I guess it just, it plays, I guess is the point. So Black did put a piece on g6, but it was the knight. Okay, now White plays natural developing moves and once again has compensation, and the kind of compensation that you should not try to punish by pawn grabbing. But here we go. And I don't know what Black miscalculated because White's going to win materially with a simple fork, but playing actively with the rooks is our theme. And now, Black is going to be down 2 pieces for a rook in a position where the openness of the game definitely augurs well for White. So Amin did the same desperation thing that Anand did, was give up the queen, try to get some of White's pieces. So this is 2 rooks for a queen, but Black's position is very badly damaged. And so we have some weird jockeying. So White wants to make a kingside attack because Black's queenside is certainly not going to defend against the kingside attack. Black tries to develop the queenside, and we have a little bit of a pas de deux with the queen and the bishop. During which time White gained a tempo to put the queen on an active square c1, where it's going to be key to the attack in a moment. So here we go, e5. Now the White's other bishop is going to come back to life on d3, and White starts sacking things again. This is how you're supposed to play the Evans Gambit. And if Black captures it, then Black is simply not going to be able to defend against mate on g7 for long.
Yeah, here Nakamura can just be Nakamura.
Yeah, I mean, the only way to defend is to bring the bishop back to b1, but you've got to give up pieces for that purpose. So this is just terrible. So Black does not take the bishop, instead tries to retard the queen from coming in, but the queen comes in. Black tries to bring the bishop back for defense, but it's all too late. And here Amin resigned because they have to king g8, just queen takes f6, and we are coming in on h7. So you can only delay this a little bit.
Yeah, Black was playing a queen rook and a light square bishop down in this game.
Right, which is the whole idea of the Evans Gambit. Okay, so that was the romance in Casablanca, and even though Anand won in the last round, Carlsen established essentially clinched the tournament the round before, and Carlsen resumed his streak of winning chess tournaments. But it was an amazing tournament. FIDE people visited there. So Carlsen 4.5, not a bad result for Nakamura. Well, +1 by virtue of losing to Carlsen in one game, but winning against Massamami in both games. So I guess I should actually show the. Whoops, where'd it go? Here it is. Show the just the end of the game where Nakamura lost to Carlsen. That was this game where Carlsen won with the black pieces, and just sampling the game. It was, again, from a prearranged position. It looks quite wild on the Sicilian, and White's attack just did not work. Okay, so it was okay for White as of here, but then White took a plan that was too slow. Okay, I may come back to this, but I have something else that I want to present instead. You saw games with lots of pieces flying around. I'm now going to get rid of all the pieces. No pieces. Okay. So, well, we'll get rid of the pieces really quick. So the other major tournament that happened this week was in Sharjah Masters, and the round 7 saw a showdown between the two American 2,700 about players in the tournament. And so it was Hans Niemann as White against Sam Shankland as Black. And I'll just scroll through the moves of this game. I have Stockfish 16 in the Arena Chess GUI for this. Okay, so, the Sicilian defense may be a little bit unusual. And here's Queen F6. So Black may be trying to channel a little bit of Chagor and Steinitz here. Well, I'm being silly. Okay, so now Black is basically fine. I am not putting the analysis on yet. Okay. So Niemann tries expanding, but there's really nothing wrong with Black's position, and Niemann has this key potential weakness in the center. So Niemann saw nothing better than to trade queens, and after the queens, we're going to trade the rooks. White wants to expand on the queen side, but here we go. We have a king and pawn position. Hooray. Who does it favor? White has a little more space. Does White have any plan in this position to break through? I mean, it could just be a fortress, right? Is there any danger for White in this position? Well, let's see. So Niemann leads with the pawns. Usually I would lead with the king, but I don't know whether Niemann thought he was potentially going to win. A6 is another aggressive move, although it's really a good move because it is a feature of this position that White wants to set up a latent threat on the queen side. Okay, so now we've blocked the queen side. It's a fortress over there. So any breakthrough, if it's going to happen, is going to happen on the king side. So we've got this natural position. Is there any move that could lose here? So, or what should White do? Are we just shuffling pieces of wood and we're going to lock the king side too and call it a draw? So, believe it or not, there is a way to lose. And in some ways, maybe the most natural move loses. Depends on whether you think king h4 is a natural move. Well, now
I would think h4 is a natural move.
Okay, so you would think h4 is a natural move.
Yep.
That is what Niemann played. And
okay.
It loses.
Oh, wow. There you go.
There you go. Yes. And I suspect a miscalculation here or not realizing. I've turned off the engine for a moment.
Or he may have just thought that it was a draw and that was a quick way to do that. It's surprising that loses.
Yes. So the latent reason that it loses is imagine that the H pawn and G pawns come off in such a way that Black is able to recapture on G5 with the F pawn. Then the drawback of White's double E pawns is clear. Black has an outside passed pawn on the G file, will eventually force White's king down the board. Black's king will gain access to the F3 square and eat all of White's pawns. So this is
the right way to go was king h4 instead.
Yeah, or in fact, actually, in this position, any move except h4 or g5, which is obviously
king f3 is possible, and then back to g3.
Yeah, just kind of shuffle back and forth.
Yeah, and just hold the position. There's no worry that White can get into Zugzwang because let's say, for instance, White plays king f3. Let's say Black plays h5. Okay. Now I think you don't is taking actually is losing. I think, right? No, taking isn't losing. But nonetheless, okay. Let's say you don't want to capture. Black captures here. Okay. Now let's just make sure. Oh, actually, the capture there is a bad move. This is white's. This is white's winning motif. By the way. So it's maybe surprising that black is losing here. Ultimately, is white going to be able to penetrate with the king? Why
Wow.
should black be losing this position? Well, you play here, and you play king e7. Are we really losing this position? Yes, we are, because white's going to play h6 and be able to eat some of black's pawns. So this is also surprising.
Yeah, so both sides have to be really careful not to weaken their positions here.
Yeah. So I don't believe that this is really lost for black, is it? Which pawn is white taking here? White is taking on f6. Well, h6 might win too, but f6 is indeed good. Okay, yeah, you're just winning that. You're right. Yes. This is yeah. White's king is too far advanced. So okay, so there are actually serious ideas in this position. Well, what I was intending to show. So h takes g4 actually loses. That's remarkable. So what I was intending to show was that even if white captures with the pawn, it's not a Zugzwang. So let's see. So let's find a way that. So let's play king h6 for black. And now let's see. White can capture on h5, or we can play king f3. Now this is okay for black, because after king takes g4, black can play g6. Black is not forced to give ground. And curious enough, this would be like the game, optically like the game, except for a key.
Yeah, except the pawn's one square back.
Yeah, that's right. So that is, in fact, so let's see. So in fact, well, h4 is not a losing move in this position, but h4 and then pass, if black could pass, would be a losing move in this position. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to say about this position is that if white captures with the pawn, where am I now? Okay, never mind. Okay, king h6, king f3. I probably confused this. So if white captures with the pawn, then it's not a Zugzwang either way. Okay, let's play a stupid move for white, king g3, and then this. This is not Zugzwang because white can play king h3, and the double pawn at e3 is helping. Okay. All right, but h4 actually loses. So black plays h5, and now king h3. And now if black were to capture on g4, black would lose for essentially the same reason we've seen. White's king is able to penetrate. And if king f7, then king h5, and this is going to be penetration on the 6th rank for white. So I'm sure this animates the aggressive ideas that Niemann thought were operating in position. Surprised that white with damaged pawns can force black back like this. So you look at this position, and you think, wow, okay, g takes h4 loses. Black can retreat the king to f7 or h7. Giving away a pawn, and I guess white is not able to penetrate with the king, so that's surprising too. But you think, h takes g4 is the most natural move, but king h6 actually wins. So why does it actually win?
That's wild.
Yes. So g takes h4, and now here is the real key. Okay, so king g6 would put black's king in the same lion's mouth. So king g6, then h5 is good for white. And here is where the point I said about invading black's queen side comes into play. So this actually works for white. What happens in the game does not work for white. Even though black is going to make a queen, black does not make a queen fast enough to stop white from being able to make a queen. So even though black's queen's first, black has no check, And white is going to get a queen ending where the a6 pawn will ultimately be the decisive factor.
Yeah, the power of the doubled pawn on e4.
Yeah, stopping checks. I can't play queen b6 check. Okay, but that is not what happened. What happened is black plays g6,
Mm-hmm.
and now white, in order to get this,
White has nothing here.
white has nothing. Now, if white just retreats the king to h3 or g3 or h3, doesn't matter, then the key point is that black gets this move for the king, and now with g5, we are going to get that line with the passed g pawn. Stockfish is already seeing it all the way to checkmate. Okay, so that's the one reason white is lost, and the other reason is that the desperate h5 is a key tempo down compared to the previous line. Okay, black can't play h4. Okay, so h4 does allow white to play king g4, and then we get a configuration on the king side that's just drawn. So black does have to give away one tempo, but this is still too late for white. Okay, so white's pawn would only be on c6 if white did that, and then black would take on e4 and pin the pawn. So white instead tried to make hay with the a pawn, but black is able to come straight through, just eat pawns, and now black is stopping everything. So I mean, ultimately, white can queen and trade queens, but then black just wins the king and pawn ending. So Niemann gave up. So it's a surprising fact, maybe one of the end games of the year.
Yeah, really neat.
And
Very instructional.
Yeah, misplaced aggression. So I want to mention one other game. So this eventually propelled Shanklin to a tie for first, but the winner of the tournament on tie breaks was a player from Iran, and so I have his. And this I mentioned last week, the old prodigy Chitambaram VR. Wait a minute, I might not pick him up. So let's see. So I guess I have to actually sort by black and find Danishvar. Here he is. Okay, oops, Danishvar is here. Okay. So Danishvar against Aravind Chitambaram, that's why. Okay. So this now was the other round 7 game that was decisive in the tournament, and this is a case of white getting a promising position, but then not being able to follow through correctly. So this is where we do it as just chess, and in that spirit, I'm not going to run the engine. Okay, so fairly normal strategic game. Black is comfortable in this position, but white is able to expand with e4 more readily than black can expand with e5 in this position. And that's true even after black does expand with e5, because now black has made some weak squares, and white is now going to probe the weak square. So it is surprised, a symmetrical position. But white, in fact, already has a substantial advantage. And now I guess is the time to show that. Okay, so bishop c3, the best move for black. Okay, so white plays, and white's advantage will become even clearer. Now, rook a8, in fact, was a bit of a well, it was guarding the pawn, but it's an admission that something has gone wrong in the opening. So now the engine shows this is almost a 2-pawn advantage. And in one of these places, a little bit later in the game, the engine's going to want to play a really strange move for white. However, anyway, so white has various plans. White can basically just sit on this position, expand with h4, expand with f3. I'd probably say bishop f3, putting the bishop here, is the most convincing plan to improve white's position. But anyway, white played natural penetration, Okay, you can't taking over the D file, menacing A5 with the queen indirectly. This can't be bad. Black has to go back to the first rank, and so it is here now that white begins swimming. So let's see now if the Stockfish 16 in multi-PV mode recommends the same move as the chess.com engine. So it doesn't actually. It recommends bishop h3, which can't be bad either. Let me go to my window where I have the game open in Sharjah here. This is the game. And we just find the right. So this is where bishop a3 was thought to be a poor move, and we just scroll up to the key point here. Knight e3. Yes, it's here. Okay, so this is the key moment in the game. We go back to my movement here. So white rearranges, taking over strong squares. Okay, so now so this is the funny thing. All right, looks like you can win the a5 pawn. White actually decided to shore up the e4 pawn, okay, because black has latent tactics of taking on e4 and taking on d5. But here's the really funny thing. The move that the engine wants white to play and says that it's the only way to keep a large advantage is a move that would never, ever occur to me to play. So let's see if so Stockfish 16 in multi-PV mode wants to play the same move, although it does not show so much of a separation. In fact, here the Stockfish 16 in the multi-PV mode is saying just chop black's pawn. But over here in the chess.com window, there's a real separation for playing g4, pawn advantage. And this move would never occur to me. I mean, it seems to be a way of giving away white's advantage. And already we switched over to Stockfish 11, and Stockfish 11 doesn't like it. So I don't know. This is like a very strange thing with computer chess. What is it about g4? Is it a tempo move? Is put black in a wild subzwang, so black has to retreat the knight? What on earth? Maybe actually it's for rook h3 with latent threats against it.
Yeah, it's possible. That type of a pawn advance is also kind of thematic in positions where black has doubled g pawns. So on g7 and g6.
Right.
And so frequently the right plan is to play g5 and g4.
Right.
And just try to gain space on the king side in those positions. And I guess for white, this same idea, just gain some space. But it looks like that it probably should have a tactical flaw in this position. So
yeah. Oh yeah, my Stockfish 16 in multi-PV mode rather than the 3 variation mode that isn't as it's funny. It's not as sanguine about white's position here. So that's another.
Well, I can see a long way, so that helps.
Yeah. This is depth 28, whereas this is only going to depth 20, which chess.com does on purpose because they agree with me. Chess.com implicitly agrees with me that depth 20 is sort of the upper part of the most human range of analysis. So anyway, so this is now an interesting thing about losing control. Okay, we repeat moves. The players white had about 8 minutes still in this position. Oh no, only 4 minutes. Sorry, black had the 8 minutes. I'm sorry. So let's just play the repetition of moves here. Yeah, white was down under 2 minutes, so that also was part of it. So this is all about losing control. F3 looks like a move to keep control, but now it allowed black counterplay. And so now white plays h4. I have no idea what that move is for. And then white played rook e3, which is clearly a panicky time pressure, misunderstanding the position. So now knight takes e4 is on. Maybe that's what white feared before. but we've crashed through with the center, and white hangs a rook on a5 and loses. So
Oh,
yes,
that's not fun.
that's not fun. That's right. So time got short. The tournament did not have a lump sum at turn 40, so things fall apart. Anyway, so that's my review of chess for this week.
So Ken and Sasha, one of the things that I found interesting in the Casablanca tournament was that two positions were selected from the 1999 Women's World Championship, which was won by Xie Jun, and it's like of all the matches to choose two positions, I found that to be really interesting. Both of the games, the positions were nice, but.
Yeah, especially with women not involved in the tournament, but exactly. In fact, this made me think that Xie Jun was playing as well.
Exactly. It's like, wow, is she making a comeback?
Yeah.
So I was, anyway.
They chose two of the Kasparov positions as well. But here we go. Yeah, so two positions from Xie Jun against Galiamova. I guess I can just scroll very quickly through this game to see what happened with Carlsen defeating Nakamura from one of these positions.
Yeah, each of those were topical Sicilians from like the mid to late 90s or so, and each of those openings has gone out of favor now.
Yeah,
so I assume that was why it was selected, since they could have picked something like Fischer's Poison Pawn Sicilian or so, where everybody knows the moves, and so in this case, I guess the idea was that people probably had not studied these positions deeply in there.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of this position eventually went out of favor. Either white could not find the decisive breakthrough.
There were sharp lines that you could just play for a quick draw if you knew them. Yep.
Yeah, this is very, very fine play.
If you don't know them, you get rolled.
Yeah, that's right.
So neither of those are necessarily a good outcome.
Oh, this is a very pretty move. Rook e8.
We don't see the board.
Yeah, we don't
Setting
see
up a pin on the king file. That's a very pretty move, I must say.
We don't see the board again.
Oh, you don't see the board. Oh, that's funny. I thought I was okay. Sorry. Let me reshare then.
This was the Keres attack game, right?
Right. This was, yeah, sorry. I didn't realize we weren't seeing the board. Okay, share screen, share entire screen. I must have not clicked share entire screen. Here we are. Okay.
Yeah, the Keres attack is something that I played in correspondence chess in the 1970s through like the 1990s. And I stopped playing it because black would just castle queenside and it would be a boring draw.
Yeah.
That did not happen in this game.
Right. Yes. But bishop f3 was a key misstep.
Yeah, we're still not seeing your board.
Still not seeing the board. Oh wow! And I did the same. Okay, I guess something is amiss with it. All right, because I did the correct sequence of things still. Let me just try sharing to the tab and see if that helps. Otherwise, okay. So share screen, share Chrome tab, Casablanca Chess, share that. Okay, now is the board showing?
No.
Nope, still not. But this is round 3 from the Casablanca.
Round 3, yeah.
And the Keres attack. And so if people want to look at that, it's entertaining. And I also like the classical Sicilian line that was played in round 6. So kind of a nice instructive position that we don't see regularly in tournaments now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today is Berlin or Italian game, and but looks like Evans' Gambit is not easy to refute after what we see.
I consider the Evans Gambit to be like the Mora Gambit. I'm worse on either side of each of those openings, so I don't play it.
Yeah.
That's correct. Correct.
I mean, you really have to know what you're doing in each of those openings, or you'll just get in horrible trouble.
Hmm.
Yeah, you have to suffer for a pawn in Evans' Gambit tremendously. It's probably it's not worth it, especially
Well, I
when
mean,
you're
if black
playing.
knows, if black knows the position, you get kind of a quick lifeless draw.
Yeah, yeah.
If he
There are
doesn't know, if black doesn't know the position, then fireworks occur.
Mhm. Exactly. Oh, well, gentlemen, I would like to thank you very much for today's program. Very instructive games, and end game is absolutely a must to study to see how its seemingly equal position could be demolished apart because of the one. Uh, it's not even the bad move; it's just a misconception and not appreciating the possible winning line for black. Anyway, we'll see you next week, same place, same time, or maybe some other time,
Yep.
but we'll determine that. Thank you
Okay.
very much, everybody.
Seeing you, Dan. Yep. Okay.
Have a
Okay.
great week.
See you,
Bye-bye.
Ken. See you, Sasha. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. All right.